And that's how it finished, 4-2 to Scotland. A few moments that got a little scary for you guys watching that, especially for you, Stevie. I know that was the case, but this is how things do end in the table. It is Scotland who have qualified. They'll be going directly to the World Cup next year. Denmark will have to take the playoff route. All right. Didn't make it easy.
Well, I can tell you the final group game for qualifying for 98.
Hello, Frank.
Hi, Frankie. The final group game qualification for 98 was a lot easier than that. It was Latvia at home, and it was nothing like that. That was an amazing night. I mean, I don't really want to dwell too much on the football side of it, because not for the first time Scotland haven't played particularly well. They've done that a lot in this group stage, by the way. Haven't played particularly well against Greece and others, but yet have managed to drag out results. And that's what they did again tonight. I mean, even with 10 men, Denmark played the better football. But that was just an amazing... Bearing in mind, as you mentioned, 28 years since France 98, where Frank and I played, and Frank won it. You may have heard that story.
Did he?
Yeah. And so to have those celebrations is amazing. We broke with tradition today, just before we came on this show, because you took a little picture of Stevie and I sent it to Stevie Clarke, just to say congratulations from two guys from Ayrshire to another guy from Ayrshire. Yep. We're all lived and born within sort of 20 minutes of each other. Stevie was my teammate. You know, I was a youngster coming into the Chelsea team when Stevie Clarke was one of the experienced players, and he kind of took me under his wing a little bit. And you can't not be happy for those scenes, because, believe it or not, even though he's qualified for the Euros and some other stuff, he's come in for a lot of criticism with the way they've played and with certain players. Why didn't he play Shanklin from the start? Why is he not playing? So he's had a lot of criticism, even though he's had some relative success. Now this is the icing on the cake. Yeah, you've got to go to North America here in a few months and acquit yourself well. But that was the big one, because make no bones about it, Denmark were the best team, are the best team in this group, but Scotland got the better results.
What does it mean for Steve Clarke and that group of players then, Stevie? Because the pressure was really on them. They were at home tonight in a must-win game.
Well, it's a culmination of everything, and particularly what Craig was talking about with the fact that they haven't played well. You know, we've sat here over this campaign, these World Cup games, with Scotland fans booing the team at home because of the way they're playing. And so when you turn up and it's all or nothing, this is it. You know, winner takes all. It really doesn't matter a stuff how you play. It's not about playing well. Nobody in Scotland wants to play well against Denmark and get beat. And none of us could care less that Denmark were the best team. And none of us could care less that we kept giving the ball away. Do you know why? Because we stuck the ball in the net 4 times and Denmark only did it twice. So forget how you play. It's about getting to the World Cup final. And the fact that we've not been there for nearly 30 years. Stuff the way you play. We got there. Enjoy it.
But it was a fine line for the manager, because until Kieran Tierney there's 2 great goals. McLean, obviously, fantastic. Tierney was the one that was probably going to get Scotland there. But if that game finishes 2-2 and Denmark only needed a point and Scotland were in the playoffs, Stevie Clarke's in for a rough morning with the media, because of the way they play and they approach the games. And you could feel it in the crowd during the game, particularly when Dorgu scored the equaliser. But for long periods where Denmark were passing it around, you could just feel the tension of, why can't Scotland play better? Why can't they pass it better?
It made the changes at the right time.
Yeah.
Because we were screaming at the TV, right, we need to get forward. You can't win the game unless you're in the other half of the field. And he made the changes. He brought on Shanklin. He brought on Shea Adams. And so Stevie Clarke made the changes that made the difference. Now, there's no question the red card is as much of a reason why Scotland won this game and Denmark didn't. Because it completely changed it. Because at that stage, Scotland couldn't get the ball. We couldn't get the ball. And just that quick flick, that one decision from the referee, he refereed the World Cup final. And that decision, if you're Denmark, you're going to be questioning that forever and a day. But again, who cares? It's because Scotland are going to the World Cup.
But you think about it from a player's perspective, since '98, OK, they were at a European Championship in the last few years, but, I mean, they're great, that's great, but the World Cup is, it's the pinnacle. for a player. I mean, yeah, you can win the Champions League when you're at Liverpool, and, but playing for your country when you're growing up as a wee boy and you're 10, 11, 12 and you're watching these players go to wherever it is, Spain or Argentina or Brazil and play, you think, mate, and for 20 odd years, there's been better players that are playing now, some of them, and they've not had a sniff to go. So these boys, most of them, will probably be in the squad. They're going to experience what this is going to be. It's going to be great here in North America. Yeah. Big stadiums, huge crowds. It's going to be hot, but it's going to be fun. And they're going to experience that. And, from a player's perspective, at the end of your career, you don't want to sit back and say, I wish I'd been at that World Cup. So they've done it. They have. It's not a pretty.
There it is. There's the teeth.
Well, obviously, the last time they were there, you were in the squad, Craig. What advice would you give them? You're obviously saying what it's like to play over this side of the world.
That was actually scoring against Norway in Bordeaux. You can see. Just going. Honestly, that experience for me, and that moment was surreal. Actually hitting the back of the net at a World Cup, and it meant something at the time because it drew us level with Norway, which kept us in it for the last game. And that feeling just of doing that at a World Cup, I just wanted to do it again. And, my message would be like like most other people, which is you've got to embrace it, but you have to enjoy it.
Aye.
You've got to go there, have no fear. We opened against Brazil in Paris, which was the opening ceremony. So that was huge. But you've got to go and embrace it and enjoy it and get the memories from it and hopefully play well, because you don't know. Did we think in '98 we thought we'd be at the World Cup in 2002? I thought I'd be there. We weren't there. I never saw another one. And so you have to just go and you soak in what the World Cup is all about. Obviously, Frank's got that great experience as well, particularly in his own country. But you've just got to take a breath and go, this is one of the reasons why I play. And on another side of it, what about Scott McTominay? To go as a squad player from a struggling Man United to one of the top players in Italian football, and then have moments like this to get the bus rolling as he did in 3 or 4 minutes. What an amazing story.
And you're talking about him. He's one of the reasons why Scotland are there, his goals over this campaign.
And Steve Clarke had said today we need a good early start.
Absolutely, and they got that. But not only McTominay, but there's a generation of Scottish football players that have never been and played in the World Cup, as Craig's talking about. But guess what? There's a generation of fans that have never been there. They'll have heard all the stories for their granddad and their dad probably about, going to Spain or wherever it was, and all the times they had, and they're like, we'd never get a chance to go. And so you're not only talking about a generation of players, you're talking about a generation of fans.
The only thing is, I don't know how half of them are going to get visas.
That's right.
Frank, you were watching as a neutral tonight. What did you make of the game?
Amazing. I switched on the TV and I said, well, what can I expect from that game? And I thought it would be an easier game for Denmark. They were better. Denmark were better, but the spirit, the heart, and the pride were Scottish, and they showed it from the first minute to the last. I mean, the first goal to the last goal. I mean, that's insane. The atmosphere. And while I was listening to Stevie and Craig, I'm so pleased for the Scottish fans, the Scottish team, and because it's rare to see a country, after such a long time, willing to go to the World Cup and enjoying so much that you support them. Don't forget that they beat the team that they was my favorite for the last World Cup, Denmark. But really, I was a little bit Scottish tonight. When I saw the goals, when I saw the atmosphere, and I said, that's what I love about football. It's what I want to see when I'm on my couch and I say, well, okay, I'm going to watch a game. That wasn't the best, perfect game, but because of the atmosphere, I say, no movies in the world can show you so much suspense, so much emotion that a game like tonight. And you see that. You see that on the eyes of everybody, even the players who, like us, which have watched like thousands of games in our lives, we enjoy that because that's special. Because of Craig, I had the chance also to text Stevie and to say congratulations to him. I had the chance and the honor to give him an award because he was named the best right back of Chelsea for the last century. He was my teammate. He was such a warrior and such a soldier, and I'm so proud and so happy for him. And I want to add, on top of McTominay and today we scored a beautiful goal, I want to add McGinn. I mean, that guy is a monster. Is really somebody. The red card, the 2 yellow cards were on him, and what he does on the field since I've known him is really special. And today he was a masterpiece again.
Frank asked me just before we came on air. He went, "Was Stevie Clarke in the '98 World Cup squad?" And he wasn't. So he himself, unless he went to Italia '90, which I don't think he did. For him, I think this is going to be his first time now. Yep. Should he have been? He's one of those players. We were talking about Grant Hantley during the game, and Stevie looked it up. He'd something like 65 caps. Yep. Likes of Alan Hansen and other greats for Scotland had a third of that. Stevie Clarke was, I think Stevie's in single digits for caps. He should have had 40 or 50. As Frank mentioned, he's voted as Chelsea one of the best defenders of a generation. But for one reason or another, and I know what the reasons are, some of them, but I'm not going to come out with it. But for one reason or another, personalities and whatnot, he wasn't involved and he missed out in World Cups in Europe. He wasn't in the Euro 96 squad either. And he was better than a lot of the guys that were in the squad. So I think for him, he didn't taste that as a player, certainly not in the late 90s. And now he's going to taste it as a manager. And he said the other day, actually, in a press conference, he said, when I got offered this job, people were telling me don't take it. It's a poison chalice. It's really, a lot of managers have fallen foul of these Scotland teams, and they've been hammered and butchered and criticised. He said, don't take it. And he said, but I believed in myself and I just felt that I could get a tune out of some of these players in this squad, and he was proven absolutely right.
They were referred to as the Hampden Heroes tonight by the commentator when that fourth goal went in. As you said, they're not going to be buying a drink for a long time, no. But this is going to now be a generation.
They don't buy drinks anyway.
This is going to be a generation that's going to be remembered for a long time because of this, right?
Well, yeah, we're laughing at Hampden Heroes, but again, from the fans' point of view, that's exactly what they are, and that's what the kids and all the young guys that you saw and the young women that were at this game, that's what they'll be thinking about. To them, this is fantastic. To us, it's just a funny cliche.
And if somebody wants to break my record playing for Scotland, they feel free.
Which record?
Not the scoring a goal.
There was only two of you, right, that scored?
Yeah, he got sent off.
There was only two of you that scored in '98.
No, he got sent off.
So, the sending off as well. Yeah,
I'm looking for somebody to wipe the slate clean of me being the last Scotland player to be sent off at a World Cup. But hopefully nobody will do that, just in case.
Yeah, anyway, big congratulations to Scotland on going to the World Cup next year over here in the US. Spain through to the World Cup. We could definitely say never in doubt there, unless they lost by 7 goals. Obviously, Turkey got a few on the night, but Spain are through to the World Cup. This is how Group E ends. Turkey will be taking the playoff route. How do you look into this game, Frank, the fact it finished 2-2 with Spain, knowing they were practically there, virtually qualified already? Do you see it that way, or do you see any concerns for Spain that it did finish 2-2?
No, not at all. I think it was a special game for Spain. They already knew that it would be qualified. They would never lose 7-0 against Turkey. Turkey proved that they had pride and they worked hard, but I'm sure it would have been another game if the pressure would have been on Spain to absolutely win that game. So I'm not worried. I mean, Spain is, for me, if it's not the favorite, one of the favorites of the next World Cup. They showed during the qualification and so many of the games that they are one of the contenders, and they are in a different level that they've shown today. So no worries. They didn't lose, which is a good thing because you need pride when you play for your national team. But no statements whatsoever about that draw.
They are the favourites to win the World Cup. Is that fair enough?
I think so at the moment, although, I think it's the football that they play or they can play at times is certainly exhilarating. Whether or not the French step up in particular and flex their muscles, which they've got, remains to be seen. And then, England being, I don't know.
What England does there?
Well,
I think they are the
chance.
favourites.
Aye.
I mean, Argentina, yeah, they're going to be a threat, but it's all built still around Messi, isn't it? And Brazil, even though with Ancelotti in there, you wouldn't be convinced about it. Germany played really, really well yesterday, but then the Slovakian side,
they've been up and down.
They just never turned up. So that was a difficult one. And Portugal, we know, have got a talent, but they have their own deficiencies. So I think from what we've seen in the last 18 months or 2 years, I wouldn't argue against Spain. But it's not as simple as that.
No, the problem is you don't want to be the favourites right now. You want to be the favourites going into the tournament. They've been the best for
Well, they might still
18 months, 2 years, as Craig said. How many teams go longer than that in terms of supposedly being the best side in world football or in Europe or whatever it is?
Well, Spain.
These things drop off.
2008, 2010.
But these things drop off. So, yes, you want to be somewhat in a rhythm, somewhat settled. But you don't want to be the favourites right now. You want to be the favourites going into the tournament.
Frank?
Now I just want to know, because I'm very surprised to see England in the second favourite. I know it's an English bookmaker company, I guess, but really, and I think they can surprise. But when you see Portugal being only 6, France behind England, and Argentina, the World Cup, the former World Cup winner, being only 5th, I wonder why you have to put England second if it's not only for business. I really wish to England to do well, but they have to stop that, because it's not fair for the other countries. They shouldn't be second.
Not fair. But you are right, though. I mean, England, they've had a better spell getting to the semi-final of the World Cup. Lost to Croatia, final of the Euros, lost in penalties, got a more experienced manager, but haven't won anything tangible since '66, whereas France have got, and Spain and others have got the historical value of knowing that they can get over the line, particularly this French team. There's a lot of players in this, there's a lot of new players, but there's a lot of players that have been tried and trusted as well and know they can have success. I think the French, I think down to how their manager approaches it. I know he's finishing, I think, after the World Cup. But I do think sometimes, although they've had success, he does hold them back a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see if he takes the reins off in North America. They're definitely a bigger threat to Spain, I would say, than England.
Yeah, you can see a lot more of these Spanish internationals in action with their domestic sides when domestic football returns this weekend. La Liga is back on your screens from Friday. On Saturday, we will see Barcelona back at the Camp Nou to take on Athletic Club. And on Sunday, it's Elche, the newly promoted team who've made a few waves so far, will be hosting Real Madrid. This is how Germany's group finished. They secured their spot in the World Cup finals on Monday after that 6-0 victory over Slovakia. Florian Wirtz widely praised as a standout in the match, setting up both of Leroy Sané's goals on the night. The hope is that Liverpool see more of this version of Wirtz, playing with the confidence and the freedom that we saw him playing with in this game, Stevie, isn't it?
Oh yeah, look, this is great for somebody like him who's struggling domestically. To go and play in the national team and get on the ball, to get lots of touch. What he has to do is adjust his game to the tempo of the Premier League. When he's got time, when nobody's closing him down, we know he can thread the needle. But when you have to do it quicker, every single thing that you do in the Premier League, you have to do at a pace higher. And that's where he's struggling. Because he's taken too long to make his passes. When he sees those passing lanes and then he tries to deliver the ball, he's not delivering it quick enough because those lanes have closed by the time he's played it. And that's why he looks like he's giving the ball away and he's not making all these chances that he was making at Leverkusen. So it's really not about talent. The guy's got more talent than he can deal with. It's about doing everything. When he steps on the field in the Premier League, he has to do everything quicker. He has to think quicker. He has to play it quicker. And if he does that, then you'll see the types of goals that he's making there.
Look, at that, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to put in these kind of performances when you're struggling a little bit or a lot, as he is. But international football, and we talked about this during watching the Scotland game, isn't really a barometer for what your test is back in your domestic league, particularly if you're playing in, Germany, Spain, England, Italy. Because of the pace and the physicality, international football's a little bit more tactical. Yeah, the Scotland game was nuts, I'll give you that. But this game was, I watched this game and Slovakia, they were so open, it was unbelievable. Serge Gnabry could have had a field day, to be honest with you, particularly in the first half. So he flourishes in these kind of scenarios where one team's fully on top, the other team are all over the place defensively, there's big gaps, and he took advantage of it. That's great, and listen, Arne Slot will not be complaining. But it hasn't really got anything to do with what he's going to do for Liverpool. What he does for Germany and what he does for Liverpool are two different things. And until he starts doing it for Liverpool, they don't really give a hoot what he's doing for Germany. Because Liverpool fans and Arne Slot and everybody around that club that have paid the money, they need him to do it, and they need him to do it quickly for Liverpool to try and get back in the title race and put some consistency together. So, as I say, it's not a bad thing and it doesn't hurt, but I wouldn't sit here and say, Florian Wirtz was magnificent yesterday and all his woes are behind him. It's just a small step in the right direction, but there's much, when he gets back to England at the weekend, there's going to be much bigger tests lying ahead.
How hard is it, Frank, to get up to that tempo of the Premier League?
In fact, the space there is between the brain and the foot, when he gives direction to his foot, when he wants to do it, as Stevie alluded, you have to go faster. That's what you have to do. You have to be prepared to some contacts as well, and some push from the defenders, but you will have to react more quickly. And that's the main thing. And it takes a little while, especially when you play in the middle of the park. In our time, I think it was even more difficult, and Craig maybe can explain that. But I think it's more open nowadays. But before, you didn't have any second to decide whether you're going to do a long ball or a small pass in the back. It's complicated, but he will have to pick up the rhythm. Otherwise, he's going to struggle for a while.
It was a big performance from Germany. Okay, Slovakia were poor on the evening, but Nagelsmann needed that big time. Now, whether that's how much of that Germany can take forward and say we can play that way against better teams, I don't know. They've not really shown that in this qualifying campaign. But Wirtz was good, as you mentioned. Goretzka was a threat. Serge Gnabry was getting and Voltemada as well. Actually, for such a big guy, he's got quite a deft touch now and again. And obviously, he's made this big move to Newcastle. He's led the line here for Germany. And bearing in mind, we absolutely slaughtered them after they beat Luxembourg, but had played terribly and could easily have dropped points in that game. That was a big performance for them, to be fair, and it could have been 7 or 8. So Nagelsmann absolutely needed that from his team.
As for Florian Wirtz, coming back to the Premier League, it's Forest for Liverpool next. We know how it ended before the international break for Liverpool against City. Does Wirtz start this game against Forest?
I think he will, and I think he will because it's Forest, because Forest will give Liverpool a lot of the ball, plus the fact it's at Anfield. So I think when you have a guy in like Wirtz who defensively doesn't give you anything, Liverpool are going to be on the front foot for the majority of this game. I'll be shocked if they're not. And so this is the type of game where you can get him into the rhythm. You can get him lots of touches, get him lots of passes. And then if he does get to the rhythm, then he grows. His confidence goes through the roof. Everything becomes easier for him. And of course, when it becomes easier for him and he's playing well, it helps Liverpool.
There's been some transfer news. Obviously, the January transfer window is just around the corner. Antoine Semenyo has been linked with a move to Liverpool, reports stating that the club have been in direct contact with Bournemouth about the player because there is a release clause for him, £65 million reported, and seen as a potential long-term successor to Mohamed Salah. What do you think of these rumours and reports, Stevie?
I don't think there's anybody in the football world that doesn't want this guy. I'll have him today and twice on Sunday.
It sounds like Frank would as well if he was a Liverpool fan.
I mean, I would be so delighted. I mean, that guy, every game that I saw him playing, he has been absolutely tremendous, and he had a great impact. I mean, the power that he shows, but also the finesse that he's capable of showing too, is amazing. And his involvement to the team is huge. And we saw that in Bournemouth, and I'm sure we're going to see that in any club he's going to sign. So, yeah, I would be, especially in the middle of the park, where Liverpool is struggling a little bit. That guy is strong. He's strong, he's powerful, he's quick, and his technique. So that would be a huge signing.
In January.
Yeah. More, how can Arne Slot not get a tune out of all these players, you know, if they sign him? You know, Bournemouth, it's just a conveyor belt at the moment, isn't it? It's a bit like Brighton have been. You know, you think about Zabanya to PSG, Kirkes to Liverpool, Huijsen to Real Madrid, Semenyo potentially somewhere in January, and you've got a manager in Areola who's done a great job again at the start of the season.
He'll be next.
Yeah, he's. I mean, it can't continue to pump your finances up like Bournemouth are, which is great from then as a business, and expect to keep your manager. So when you, at the end of the day, they are a selling club. They're a small club in the South Coast. We understand all that. But if you want to hold on to your manager, you have to try and hold on to your better players, and they are not. But this guy is as the boys have said, he's powerful, he's quick, can play in a couple of different positions. And Mo Salah is, guess what? Struggling at the moment. So. And
the Africa Cup of Nations is coming up too. Does that make it even more important to get this player in January?
100%. If they need somebody. The thing is, if it's Semenyo, that is absolutely fantastic because the guy is absolute dynamite. But if it's not him, for Liverpool, it's going to have to be somebody else. If they want to win the title, they're going to have to go make a move in this January window. Sweden bottom.
So here are all the teams who have qualified so far. I won't go through them all and read them all out.
No, please do.
More names added themselves to the list today, including the likes of Spain and Switzerland. We got to see Germany booking their spot this week as well. And the big one today, Scotland, heading to their first World Cup in almost 30 years. That's how things are looking now. When it comes to the playoffs, this is the picture that we are seeing as it stands right now. The draw is to be held on Thursday. This is for the UEFA qualifying campaign. It will be 4 of these teams who will make it to the World Cup finals.
That tells you about this inflated World Cup. That you can have a World Cup campaign as chronic as Sweden had. Now, when Stevie and I were playing, Sweden were always a tough nut to crack, right? Always had good players. And yet, through this Nations League, there's a potential parachute for them to come and play in a tournament when they're finished bottom in the World Cup qualifying group. It's just not right. I'm sorry.
You don't like the Nations League option, making it at least a bit more interesting now, the way that the Nations League came in?
Well, they had this thing called a qualification campaign, and they finished bottom of the group.
How can you finish bottom of the group and then be in the playoffs? How's that?
I understand.
How can anybody think that makes any sense?
I understand the Nations League is something to make the friendlies more interesting, and it gives an avenue. And the only reason it gives an avenue is because they've inflated these competitions, adding more teams to give them that avenue. Yeah. Now, when you see the chances of Sweden going through the way they're playing are probably slim. But when you see sides that are getting horsed in their group and finishing bottom of their World Cup qualifying group, potentially getting to a World Cup, somebody tell me how that enhances an elite level competition. It does not. So I got a problem with that. You know, and not just Sweden, but any country who have been so poor in their qualification. Not even missed out on second place playoff by goal difference or a point. Just rock bottom of the group, still having a chance to go and play in a tournament which should be for the best teams. It's just not right. But that's where we are. Because FIFA and UEFA want to inflate everything because there's more teams, means more money and more games. That's what it's all about.
Let's bring that graphic back up if we can of the teams that are in the playoffs, Frank, because I'd be interested to know who you think could be making it. There's 4 final spots that will be left for those teams. Anyone that you've got your eye on?
Well, of course, I want to see Italy because I think Italy has to be in the World Cup. It's been already some mistakes in the recent past. So I want to see them fighting to get their spot in the World Cup, and of course Denmark. I mean, Denmark made a huge mistake during at home just before that Scotland game, and they need to show something else to their fans. Otherwise, of course, Sweden. When I read Sweden, why is Sweden there? They finished last, and they had 2 points. Okay, I didn't know about the Nation League's position and gift to Sweden. So
I think definitely Italy should, barring another disaster, which they've had before, they should. Denmark are better than they've shown. They should have wrapped this group up. I think not just the game tonight in Glasgow, it was their home game in Copenhagen against Belarus. I mean, that if they'd taken what they should have taken in that game, the goal difference was too much. Scotland would have had to have beat them, I think, by 5 or 6, and that was never happening. I think Wales have started to play a lot better. I mean, I don't know how strong they're going to be against better opposition, but Craig Bellamy is getting a tune out to those players. And the rest of them, I don't know, pretty much.
I mean, there's a reason why they're all there.
Yeah.
Including Italy, by the way. I mean, why do they have such a divine right they need to be in the World Cup? Well, no, if you're not good enough, then you're not there.
It's going to be fun to watch those playoffs.
I mean, and I go back to
how many World Cups you've won.
Norway won 8 games out of 8, scoring a gazillion goals. They were absolutely. That's what. And I go back to Gattuso moaning about it. He's got an opportunity. I mean, there was many a year that I can remember. If you didn't finish first in your group, that was it.
Done.
There was no second place. There certainly was no Nations League for Sweden. You either won your group and you got to the major tournament, or you finished second and see you next time out. So I don't know why they're complaining. They have a second opportunity against a lot of teams that are, let's be honest, Italy should be beating. Even Italy in its current guise, which is not a great side, Italy, but they should still be beating 99% of teams that are in that playoff.
That Gabriel was forced off due to injury. We've had an update now that it could be for up to 2 months. You think of what Arsenal have got coming up. They've got the North London derby when we return to action at the Emirates. They've got a crunch game against Bayern in the Champions League, and then they've got Chelsea away from home as well. That's a blow to lose Gabriel, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a blow, but it's part of the game, isn't it? I mean, they've actually, you look at their defenders that they've got. You signed Mosquera in the summer. He's a little bit inexperienced in the Premier League, but they signed him from Spain, where he's a good player. Calafiori is a centre-half. You could move him in to the left-hand side. Miles Lewis-Skelly, we know, is a very good player, can fit in at left-back. Houri and Timber can play anywhere across the back four. So it's not...
Ben White.
It's not, yeah, I mean...
If any team... I know Gabriel's...
It's a blow.
Been great.
No, it is a blow.
If there was one team on the planet that have got cover at centre-back, it's Arsenal.
Yeah, but it's not only defensively that they're going to miss him. It's also on the set pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, on the set pieces and corner kicks especially, Gabriel is the X factor. And that's going to be something important for Arsenal. They have to find somebody else. Yeah, defensively, I agree with you. They have players, even if Gabriel was outstanding, has been outstanding since the beginning of the season. But it's more offensively that they're gonna miss him.
But if you think about it when you start the season, the chances of you going through the season without losing 1 or 2 of your big players for at least 6 weeks, if you manage to do that, then you've been very lucky.
Yeah.
So I think this is something that most teams expect. And as Stevie said, Arsenal have gone a long way in the last 18 months to try and bulk up. They've bulked up the front line, they've bulked up the wide positions, the midfield, and the back line, and they've done it with players that can play in more than one position, which I think has been quite clever. Calafiori, left back, left sided centre back. Lewis-Skelly can go into midfield. Timber can cover quite a lot. Ben White's actually a centre half. Obviously, he's played right back for the bulk of his Arsenal career. So they've, of course, it is a blow to lose a player, but they've got to. I don't think we're going to see a marked difference in the way that they play, because they have very good players in the squad to come in and do a good job, I think.
Yeah. Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Frank is with us, and we've got Craig and Stevie here on a day that Scotland has qualified for the World Cup. You were very muted, by the way. The team wanted me to take some videos of you guys in the room watching the game, and I said, I don't think it's going to be worth it because they're pretty chill usually when they're watching. Stevie, you got progressively a little bit more excitable as the game went on.
No, because we knew that in terms of football, Denmark are way better than us, right? And so we could smell we're going to lose. We really could.
The other thing
the
is...
fact we didn't, by the way, we're dead and buried twice. It's a miracle.
You were more positive in the show. This is what I thought I was going to get from you. And then the show came and I thought, oh, he's a little bit more upbeat now about what they've just done.
No, well, we've calmed down now. Because it was a little bit...
No, the thing...
We went from
Stevie,
zero...
the thing is...
Sorry, Frank.
When we started, before starting the show, I said, how did you feel during the game? And Stevie said, never in doubt.
Yeah. There was a little hint of sarcasm there, Frank.
I honestly think if you brought a video in, a camera in, and I mean this in all sincerity, Scotland were playing in the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup, you'd get him and I off a chair. But it's just different, you know. It's different with the football. We're kind of used to it, you know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, I could have taken it either way. I'm not really. I was pleased for, you know, Steve. I was with Frank the same. I was with Stevie Clark for almost 10 years. So it's hard not to be pleased to see somebody go in there and be criticised as everybody gets, but to ultimately do what he's put in to do. With not the greatest talent pool, let's be honest about it, but they took advantage of it. So yeah, I was pleased for that, and yeah, the Scotland fans are going to get to go and see a World Cup again, which is, you know, been sorely missed for a long time. Because I know how good a time they had in France many years ago. They had a great time down there.
I'm just giggling as you saying, getting out of your chair and talking about the rugby. Remember when Frank gave away the rugby result to you on the show?
Oh, I was raging. Oh.
Do you remember that, Frank?
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Oh my God! I think he wanted to finish me. he hated me so much.
That was a classic moment. Okay, first question. Even though Craig isn't playing today and doesn't give a stuff, did he feel a little involved in the Scotland result, if only for how Stevie Clark has brought Scotland back to a point where they're fighting to qualify for major tournaments?
Yeah, not really during the game, but when I saw, you know, Stevie said during the game, towards the end, he said I think he forced a smile, Clarkie. But then you saw the emotion, because he's really not. He is behind the scenes. He's got a dry sense of humour behind the scenes. If you're having a beer and a chat with him, he has got a good sense of humour.
I mean, it looks like somebody stitched his mouth up.
I know.
He's always like that.
I know, Stevie. He's very guarded with the media, right? He's very guarded with it, so he doesn't tend to show that emotion as much. But I think we saw it tonight. Particularly when the Kenny McLean goal went in to make it 4 from the halfway line. That was it. There was just no doubt. And I think then the realisation just hit him, the enormity of what he's done, which is the first manager to do it since the late Craig Brown, since we qualified in 97-98 for France. So that's a heck of an achievement. We never used to be for Scotland. That's the thing. It never ever was. No. In my day, and in his day, and before that, it was just taken as a given. But those days have sort of gone now. They've been gone for quite some time. So yeah, it's very nice to see.
The other reason we couldn't use a video of you guys is because the language doesn't really work so well. He's not the main culprit.
All right. Sorry.
Okay, for all, you have suffered heartbreaking defeats in the World Cup, which left your country eliminated in the group stage. What is the dressing room like after those losses? Does anyone say a word, or does everyone go their own way as soon as possible?
Silence. Silence.
Yeah, it was pretty much silence for us in St Etienne. Although it was not as the dressing room was even more silent when I got into the dressing room before everybody else. About 23 minutes.
But maybe that record will be broken.
Well, hopefully nobody gets sent off from a Scotland perspective. But yeah, when the boys came in after the game, I mean, I obviously didn't pipe up because, you know, I'd been sent off, and it was silence for the most part. But then there was a couple of fingers got pointed.
See, the thing is, you number one, you don't know what to say, and actually nobody should say anything. Because there's nothing you can say or do to change it, make it right, make everybody feel better. Everybody's on the floor, so just keep it zipped and everybody will just recover in their own pace. Yeah, nobody should say anything.
But one of the things I remember is you play against the European teams, obviously, and you're more familiar with them. But I think if you go into a game against, for example, one of the big African nations, or, in our case it was Morocco, there's a little bit of an unknown there, and I was actually surprised at the football that Morocco played. They were a pretty good side at the time, don't get me wrong, and I think that's one of the things that got me, because we went into the third game in St Etienne thinking, right, all we need to do is beat Morocco and we're home and hose, we're in the knockout stages, and I'm not saying we were blasé about it, but
you didn't have access to the sides like we'd have now, where we'd be able to see what you're expecting against a Morocco team back in 98,
I'm not suggesting we sit down and watch a video, but you'd be more familiar, if you're playing a Germany or a Spain, like, you know the players, you've seen them, you've played against them, you know what to expect. I think sometimes it's a little different now, because a lot of these players are multinationals, they're playing all over. But back in the day, if you picked up, a really good Nigeria team or Cameroon or something like that, sometimes these guys you were not familiar, and it was the surprise nature, how big and powerful and strong and talented they were. We were a little bit like that with Norway, with Morocco. We did not play well, and they surprised us. They were really good.
Imagine my team. We had to watch black and white telly to watch the opposition.
Different times. Frank, silence the best policy after a crushing loss?
Yeah, I think it's the best. And I remember when we got we've been kicked out by Denmark, the last game of the 2002 World Cup that we played. I was injured, so I was on the bench. I was hoping that the guy would do the job for me to come back, and I knew that was my last game that I was involved, and in fact I put on some tears after the game, and it was very silent. And I remember Michel Platini coming and talking to me, and trying to put it like, there are more important things in the world, so don't worry about that. But yeah, you want to leave the dressing room. Nobody wants to talk. I think it doesn't make any sense to talk. Everybody is happy when you win, and we all lose together. To point somebody, especially straight after the game, doesn't help anything. So it's better to keep it quiet and leave the place.
With Jarell Quansah starting at right back for England, do you think Trent is now regretting his decision to leave Liverpool for Madrid? Is he in danger of missing the World Cup?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he has been injured, so you can't really. But even if you take that away, I'm not so sure that he actually would have been an automatic starter at Real Madrid. In fact, the Carvajal's fit now. So yeah, it's a huge possibility.
I think the problem for him could be, I don't think this will happen, but it might, is if Carvajal continues to pick up these niggling injuries, which, he's in his 30s now, he's a brilliant player, but he's came back from that cruciate ligament tear and repair. If he picks up niggling injuries on a regular basis, and Alexander-Arnold is fully fit, and Fede Valverde keeps getting shunted to right back, then that's warning signs, you know what I mean? So that's about as low as it's going to get. We'll see if that happens or not, but what you do know is, if his game time is limited, he's going to be absolutely quaking in his boots to see if Thomas Tuchel is going to pick him.
Frank, based on the performances right now, who is your favourite team to win the World Cup next year?
Well, I didn't really follow Argentina, but I think they have to be named as a possible contender and a possible winner for the next World Cup. We don't know how Messi is going to be, in which level he's going to be, so let's see. But if we follow Europe, allow me to name three teams: Spain, France, and Portugal. I really think that Portugal can trouble everybody, and of course, France and Spain have showed so much qualities, and with individuals, but also as a squad. let's see what England can do. But really, right now, for me, the 4 favorites are Argentina, Spain, France, and Portugal. And I can't name, it's too early to name really only one favorite.
You really must tune in. Whenever this happens, you really must tune in for the day that Frank is doing his World Cup bracket for 2026.
Could there be somebody in there? There will always be one.
With the draw coming really soon, I think we should start early to
And
get
bear
as
in
much
mind that it's now
mileage as we can out of it.
Is it 48 teams? Is it 48 teams?
48 teams.
Right, so it's a bigger bracket than the last time.
And he's going to be here for the draw.
He's coming for the draw.
Apparently.
So somehow in the last bracket, he managed to shoehorn Denmark and I believe Canada. Into
Right, Canada,
and I'm gonna put Scotland this year.
Frank, I'll give you 1,000 to 1 on any amount of money you want.
Okay.
Any amount.
Oh,
Frank,
yeah,
I'll give you $1,000.
I'm
I'll
sure.
give you $1,000 if you can find a bracket that you can see how Scotland are going to get all the way to the final.
Let's see. I can work it out.
Frank's bracket, it is. It's a key moment. It should be a key moment in the calendar whenever
done it
it comes
before.
to it.
It's coming for the draw. Coming for the draw, Frankie. When's that? 5th of December?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm coming for the draw. Yeah, I will be there the 5th. Yeah.
We are ready for you, Frank. We're going to be happy to have you here and we cannot wait to see your picks. Thanks so much for sending in your questions today. We will be back tomorrow to do it all over again.